Welcome to the Coach Mike Magistrelli Show. I'm your host, Logan Howell, and with me today is Coach Magistrelli. Coach, thanks for being here today.
Oh, you bet, Logan.
So first question I have for you, it was a tough loss this weekend, but what were some positives that you took away from it?
Well, obviously, we knew it was going to be a tough day for us in terms of going up against a really good football team. I thought we competed really hard. I certainly thought our players' effort, intensity was there. I thought our defense played really well, kept us in the football game, struggled in the first half, particularly on the offensive side. Obviously fell behind there, 21-0 at a half. Love the way we came out, in the second half and were able to rally and close the score a little bit, those type of things. So again, there's a lot of things we can take out of the game in terms of positives, but I think everything starts for us with our effort and energy and those type of things.
And as we get into some highlights here, it seemed like to start the game, there's several 3-and-outs for both sides of the ball. Let's start with your offense. What were your thoughts about the 3-and-outs early?
Well, it was a little bit of feeling, both teams kind of feeling each other out. Obviously, they're an outstanding, not only football team, but a great defensive football team. It's kind of one of their signatures is playing really good defense. And obviously go into what is their first game of the season, so a little bit of unknown in terms of are they going to be like they have been traditionally in the past? Have they changed things, some of that? So, again, I think on both sides a little bit of feeling the opponent out.
And now looking at your defense, forcing 3-and-outs to start the game, did you think that helped the team's momentum early on?
Yeah, certainly did. We played really well defensively, especially early in the football game. And you mentioned getting some 3-and-outs. Unfortunately, we forced them to punt. We kind of got pinned in our own end and weren't really able to move the ball offensively to ever kind of flip the field position. So it seemed like most of the early portion of the game was played deep in our own end.
And one guy we're going to see here in just a minute, Dakota Hobbs, the return man for Concordia. He had a big day as well. What made him so tough to slow down in the return game?
Yeah, he's pretty electric. He's shifty. You see him get a long return here. I believe this one gets called back with a penalty. But again, very athletic and elusive runner. Obviously, for him to have success, they got to do a great job up in front of him with the blocking schemes and some of those things. But certainly a big play threat.
And Concordia's quarterback Gavin Brooks put together a successful day as well. What challenges did he present to the defense?
Yeah, he had a good day for him. Obviously, made pretty good decisions throughout the day. I thought we were able to get some pressure on him at times. But I thought his combination of being able to throw the football, he made some critical plays with his feet later in the football game, and I thought that was a big key for him, his play.
Yeah, and the team went down 14-0 in this game. What was your message to the team going down 14-0 early?
Well, obviously, you certainly don't want to fall behind, especially against a good football team. And we fortunately for us, get an interception late in the half. It could have been, could have possibly been 28-0 had we not gotten an interception late in the first half. So felt like we went in at halftime and had some opportunities to correct some things, an opportunity to say, okay, hey, here's what they're doing, here's what we're seeing in the first half, and be able to make some adjustments, and thought we did a good job of that coming out in the second half.
It seemed like both offensive lines in this game struggled a little bit with the opposing team's defensive lines. Why did both defensive lines have so much success in this game?
Well, I think both defensive lines are really good. I think that's what it boils down to. Not that the old lines aren't good. I think both teams have good offensive lines. I do think early in the season, oftentimes defense is maybe a little bit ahead of where offenses typically are because of the timing and some of the things that come into play on the offensive side that maybe just isn't quite there early in the season. And hopefully those are things that, from an offensive perspective, you get better as the season goes on. So, I thought both defensive lines played really well.
And wide receiver Hunter Thompson made his first appearance for the Bees this weekend. What does he add to this offense?
Well, I tell you what, Hunter's an outstanding receiver, kind of a big play threat for us. He's a guy that has battled some hamstring, some groin injuries over the course of his career, and when healthy, he's an outstanding receiver and a guy that is just kind of coming back from an injury here, lower leg injury, to where we were excited to get him back. Weren't sure how long he'd be able to go, some of those things. So he was able to play the entire game, came out of it healthy, and so that's the big step for Hunter and our offense to have him back in the mix.
Just a few plays ago, we saw a missed field goal from Concordia. Do you feel that affected the game in your guys' favor?
Well, yeah, obviously, they have a chance to drive down and get some points and get on the board and those type of things, and to force them into settling for a field goal, and then obviously having them miss it, it certainly gives us a little momentum, a little lift, and I think that's obviously can lead to some big plays.
Yeah, and one guy we've seen all over the highlights today was Cade Gorzny. He had a huge day for the Bees. Is he going to be a major part of this offense moving forward?
Yeah, Cade had an outstanding day. He and Knowledge kind of carried the load in the backfield, and I thought, boy, when Cade came in, he was extremely decisive. He's a physical runner, and I thought he had an outstanding day for us.
Yeah, and this turnover we saw just here was a crazy one. Do you just kind of chalk that up to an unlucky play?
Yeah, unfortunately, it goes through one receiver's hands. You think it's going to land, lucky for us, into another receiver's hands, and you get away with one. And unfortunately, it skips through the second set of hands, and all of a sudden into a defender who returns it quite a ways. And obviously, you can see, fortunately for us, it resulted in a turnover back our way. Get the interception in the end zone. There was again a huge play in the closing minutes of the half there to keep it 21-0 at halftime.
Yeah, and at the half, the team was trailing in that game. What were some things that you wanted to focus on in the halftime locker room?
Well, we talked a little bit about the fact that now we've seen what they've done for a quarter, or for a half, to where again coming in, you talked about that unknown in terms of their first game. Well, we felt like that unknown was a little bit more known, right? We understood what looks they're going to give us, what they were trying to do in the first half, and now, hey, could we make some adjustments? Could we make some corrections and come out and play better, particularly on the offensive side?
Yeah, and Jackson Hunsicker right there had another nice day with that beautiful punt. What did you think of that punt there?
Yeah, Jackson's had an outstanding beginning to the season here. He punted for us a year ago, and he's always had the great punting ability. Just what he's lacked at times, particularly a year ago, was the consistency portion, and he's been extremely consistent this year, not only in games, obviously, but every day in practice with his punting, and has really become a weapon for us in terms of being able to flip field position.
Yeah, in this drive here, penalties move the ball down the field once again, but it ends with a missed field goal. Do you think that hurt the momentum of the team as they were trying to come back in this one?
Yeah, obviously it's 21-0, and we finally get a nice drive offensively, able to get down into the red zone area here, settle for a field goal attempt, and Tom's done a great job kicking this year. I think it's his first missed kick of the season, whether it's field goal or extra point, and so you felt like, hey, we're going to have 3 on the board and start to inch our way back in. And unfortunately for us, he's not able to connect there, and you lose a little bit of momentum. But again, we kind of kept hammering and kept fighting, and would find a way to get some scores on the board here.
Yeah, and we've seen a couple big play from Concordia wide receivers throughout this game. What challenges do they present to you?
Some of it is what you see right here with the quarterback play, being able to extend the play, and anytime a quarterback can extend the play, forces you to cover even longer than you typically have to. And our defensive approach, our defensive scheme is to make things very difficult to run the football, and I thought we did that. Sometimes in committing so many guys to the run, sometimes you're going to get some passes thrown on you, and that's part of the deal.
And this play right here, touchdown by Yemi Ward, it seems like the connection between Casey and Ward has been a great one all season long. How happy are you with the development of that connection?
Well, it's been great. Both are very good players, and it came on a critical situation, a 4th and 1. We had a run and pass option play, and I thought Tom made a great decision, and obviously Yemi ran a great route, getting himself open versus man coverage, and then you see the next possession leads to the long touchdown run, which is an outstanding job by Cade again at the running back position, but really good job by all the guys blocking as well. It was really well blocked up, and obviously went the distance. Unfortunately for us, there's a couple penalties on the play. We got called for an offensive player taunting. We got called for a little bit of exuberance on the sideline and running down too far in celebration, that type of deal. So it resulted in 30 yards of total penalties, which got applied on the kickoff. So for us to kick off from our own 5 is almost unheard of. Put us in a really difficult situation, kicking from your own 5 into the wind, and obviously they got a good kick return and set them up, if I'm not mistaken, about the 30-yard line, and it's tough to hold an opponent out from the 30, and unfortunately they were able to punch it in, and then late in the game tack a second one on. But thought our guys competed well. I thought we played again pretty good defense throughout the day. I thought we got things going a little bit in the second half there offensively, but at the end of the day, just not enough against a really, really good football team like Concordia.
Yeah, and as we take a look here at Tom Casey's stats, what did you think of him in this ball game?
Well, I tell you what, I think this is a game where we went back and watched the film after the ball game, and I think it's some things that Tom will learn from. I think there's some looks that we hadn't seen yet and those type of things, to where I think there's a lot of things Tom has now seen on film will help move forward and be able to execute maybe a little bit better in certain situations or certain scenarios. But I thought for the most part he did a pretty decent job, and I think he'll continue to only get better.
Yeah, and you talked about the penalties that moved Concordia down the field because of the kickoff there. Is that something that was addressed post-game, kind of more of a frustrating thing?
Yeah, that was probably the most frustrating thing coming out of the game, and that, again, we were down 21-0. We fight our way back all the way to 21-14. Hey, we're right back in this football game. Defense has been playing well. All of a sudden now, instead of kicking off like a normal kickoff where Tom's put the ball in the end zone and touchbacks, things like that, we're also kicking from our own 5, so we know we're going to give them pretty good field position just due to the 30 yards there in penalties. And again, it happens to be a kickoff into the wind. They get a good return. We had fought so hard to get ourselves back into the game, and it was really frustrating that the lack of discipline is what ultimately put us right back out of the game.
Coach, thank you for being here. We'll hear from you again soon. Up next, we hear from running back Cade Gorzny. Don't go anywhere.
Being a music major at St. Ambrose University has allowed me the opportunity to get to know all of the professors on a personal level, and they all care about my own growth as a musician. It's really nice to be learning in an environment where I can maybe sometimes have conversations with the professors outside of class who obviously want to help me learn, and that is their main goal. And it's easy to get that interaction from them. The opportunities that you get to perform in and outside of class, there are many of them, and all of them are great ways to meet the right people that might help you get started in your piano career, life as a musician. And that's definitely something that's helped me, something that I've loved about being here. I would recommend it for other people for the same reasons.
I knew that I wanted to go to a smaller school that was still located in the Midwest, and I remember when I toured here, I felt, compared to other schools, I felt like I was touring the place that I could picture myself next year. I could see myself studying in this library and taking these science courses. Something that really stood out to me when I toured St. Ambrose was that a faculty member that I talked to earlier in the day, when I passed them hours later, they greeted me with my first name. And I knew that this really was, I felt so welcomed here.
Welcome back to the Coach Magistrelli Show. With me now is running back Cade Gorzny. Cade, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
So first question I have for you, how did you start playing football?
Well, I started in 4th grade. I grew up playing soccer for the fall sport, and once my parents let me put on the pads, that's when I started playing. Started in NIYTF and has been playing since.
Yeah, and so you talked about soccer there. Was that the only other sport that you played growing up?
No, I played basically any sport that you name it. The 5 sports I mainly played was wrestling, basketball, baseball, track, football, and soccer.
And looking at your football career here, is there a moment that stuck out to you, maybe a touchdown you scored, or just something that stuck out to you over your football career?
I'd probably say my long touchdown run this past game was the one that kind of stuck out to me.
Yeah, and speaking of football here, moving on a little bit further here, what drew you to St. Ambrose?
Facilities, coaches. I had friends here that I kept in contact with, and I originally went to a community college out of high school. I kept in contact with them, and I couldn't stand not playing a sport, so I hit them up, and they're like, yeah, come talk with coaches, come get a visit. So I came on a visit here, and it's been history since.
Yeah, and speaking of the coaches, how's your time been under Coach Magistrelli and his staff here?
You know, I love all the coaches. I've loved it here. I've had to earn everything, which I'm thankful for. I don't really like getting getting anything handed to me. So I appreciate them for everything.
Yeah, and now you guys are back into a fall season after last spring. How's that adjustment been for you?
It's kind of weird having just 3 months off and then going back into fall camp. But for the most part, I think we all handled it well, and I think we're all happy we're not playing in 90-degree weather anymore.
Oh, I bet. And how do you think the transition has been from John Beckendorf to Tom Casey at the quarterback spot?
You know, both players are great players. Whoever's in, I believe, and our team believes they're going to do the best job possible. And it really wasn't a transition. They're both leaders, vocally and by example. So whoever's in, that's who we're riding with.
Yeah, and speaking of your huge touchdown that you had last week, can you kind of take us through that play, kind of what you saw and what you were feeling?
You know, I just saw green grass and I tried to hit the hole, and all credit to the guys up front and the wide receivers, because you look at the film, it's perfect blocking by the guys up front, and they made it easy for me, and I just had to follow their blocks.
Yeah, and this past weekend, how do you feel that the team played?
You know, I think we played hard, played fast. We just got to get going earlier in the game and not wait till the second half to get everything clicking.
And what's something that we can expect from this Bees team as we move further into this season?
You know, you're going to see a team that plays hard, fast, and assignment-sound football.
All right, Cade, thank you for being here. Up next, we'll hear from Coach Magistrelli once again to preview this weekend's game. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Coach Magistrelli Show. With me again is Coach Magistrelli. Coach, this weekend, road trip for you guys. Do you think that's going to be difficult on the players?
Well, it's going to be a little different. Obviously, we've played 3 home games to start the year, which is pretty unusual. And so obviously we head out on the road, for an overnight trip, which you usually take a couple of those a year. So to have the first road trip be an overnight trip, it's certainly going to be a little bit of an adjustment playing away from home, traveling. It's a pretty good drive out to Detroit, Michigan is where we're headed. So it'll certainly be something a little bit different for us.
Yeah, and Lawrence Tech, they've been a pretty pass-heavy offense this year. Do you expect that from them this week?
Yeah, probably so. Their quarterbacks played very well. They've got some really good wide receivers that they disperse the ball to, and they're going to give us some different looks and things to prepare for. And I know defensively, we'll take that challenge.
Yeah, and also defensively, they've been pretty stout in their first 2 games they played. How are you planning on attacking that defense?
Yeah, their guys play really hard. That's one thing that jumps out on film. They're very disciplined. You don't see blown coverages or mistakes that way. Their guys play extremely fast and physical. They like to bring some blitz and pressure you, and so we'll have to be sound in our protections and blocking assignments, those type of things. But again, certainly a great opponent that we're going to play against. They come in 2-0 and 2 big wins for them. So it'll be a good challenge for us.
And who are some players on the opposing team that have stuck out to you this week in film?
Well, we talked about on the offense side, their quarterback. I think he makes really good decisions. And again, they've surrounded him with good weapons, and obviously he's the kind of the key that makes the engine run on offense for him. Defensively, there's a number of guys that kind of jump out. They got a middle linebacker that's really physical, and they got a couple of really good corners that like to play again a lot of man coverage. And so that'll be a big key for us is getting guys open against man-to-man and those type of things.
Yeah, and now going into this matchup, looking at you guys offensively and defensively, what are the keys that you're going to be looking for this week?
Well, a little bit more consistency than what we had, last week, and particularly on offense. The last 2 weeks, we've gotten off to slow starts, particularly in the first half and those type of things. We got to find a way to come out, right from the opening drive, right in the first quarter there. Play good football, get into rhythm offensively, and for us that means picking up first downs. If we can pick up some first downs, we start to play at a little bit quicker pace. We start to play with a little bit more balance, those type of things, which we just haven't been able to do the first halves of the last couple of football games.
Coach, thank you for being here today. That concludes the Coach Mike Magistrelli Show. Thank you for watching.